Well, if you clicked on this video, you're most likely aware that social media addiction could lead to depression, but there are ways to identify it before it escalates. Today, we're discussing the warnings of social media danger to mental health. An important topic as we celebrate today in May, the time of this recording, Mental Health Awareness Month. So, we'll be sharing from our own experiences, strategies we use, one, to identify mental health concerns from social media overuse, and two, discuss practices of digital well being and digital wellness we use and recommend. So let's get into it today as we help you step your gram up on the latest episode of the Social Roundtable. Guys, everybody join us today. Happy Monday. I hope you are all doing well today. As you can see, it is just myself and Megan here today. No guests, but we do have a very important topic to discuss, as you guys see on the screen. Megan, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope everyone's doing wonderful and ready for a great discussion for something that maybe isn't the juiciest topic, but so important to talk about and something that not enough people do. So excited to see everyone's thoughts and hear tips and feedback from everyone else watching too.
Yes, absolutely. And we definitely want to make sure you guys are engaging with us, as kind of Megan has shared. So, as always, we have our live chat going on. You guys may already see our favorite moderators in there right now. Angela Vasquez is joined in the live chat as our moderator. And I see a few of you guys are already starting to chat and yam it up a little bit. I'm glad to see that. Will be shouting you guys out a few times during the course of this conversation. If you guys have any questions, please feel free, if you're watching live, to go ahead in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, you can still ask your questions as well. Please go ahead and share them in the comments. We are always pretty much engaging with any of the comments that we get, even after it's posted. So please go ahead and share there as well. We're going to get into our conversation today. As I said earlier, we do not have a guest here today. We will be returning to another guest joining us next week. But today is just myself and Megan on this very important topic of mental health. For those of you guys, like I stated also, this is May, the time of this recording. So we are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month. And this is a topic that I think a lot of people need to focus on. They might not be aware of certain things that they do that might be kind of like a victim to certain aspects that might be showing a little bit of the social media effects on their mental health. So we're going to get into it today on our conversation. Megan, are you ready to get into it? Because I only have two questions really that we're going to focus on during this discussion. Are you ready to get into this conversation today?
I am ready.
Awesome. Well, guys, like I said, if you guys have any questions, we will be taking them. I see a few of you guys in the live chat. Shout out to Laura Brooks and James. Thank you very much for joining us as always. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot it off in the live chat. My first question that I want to kind of pose to Megan, but I'm going to answer as well. And I want to share a quote before I lead off into this question. It's a quote that I received, I should say that I found in an article labeled The Social Dilemma, Social Media and Your Mental Health. And this comes from McLeanHospital.org. And I quote, social media has a reinforcing nature. Using it activates the brain's reward center by releasing dopamine, a feel good chemical linked to pleasurable activities such as food and social interaction. The platforms are designed to be addictive and are associated with anxiety, depression, and even physical ailments. End quote. With that being said, once again, that was from the McLeanHospital.org. I'm going to ask you this question, Megan, that kind of assumifies all of what I've just been sharing there and some of the other things that we are been kind of privy to knowing as social media professionals. I want to know from you, which signs can we identify if we are suffering from mental health concerns relative to social media?
Wow. Well, I think there's a lot, but I think that the thing that makes it so hard to really determine if you are struggling with it is these signs can be very subtle and they kind of build up over time. So it's not like you wake up one day and you're instantly stressed out or feeling anxious, or it's usually something that creeps up over time because we are consuming over and over, day in and day out. And like Heston just shared with that quote, the way that it affects our mental health with our dopamine hit, I mean, it's just a small amount every day that really affects long term our mental health long term without really knowing it. So what to really look for is, how do you feel when you're on those social media platforms? How do you feel when you get off of those platforms? I think that's even more important, kind of start to take note. Okay, kind of a little self reflection. How'd you feel before, during, and after? Seems maybe tedious or silly to do. Like, obviously, I'll know, but you probably won't know when it first is starting to creep up on you. So just take note of how you're feeling. Take note to see that you are present when you are not on social media? Are you always thinking about social media when you're not there? And also, how do you feel when it comes to your content, whether it performed really great, not so great, etc.? Like James joke here in the chat, I'm stressed out my reel and it got 550 views. But the truth is, some of us really do stress out about things like that. And it's something that we have to be aware of, we have to look out for, and as silly as it may seem, like I said, it slowly adds up. So it's being aware of it day in and day out.
I appreciate the fact that you mentioned is how you feel while you're on social media, but also importantly when you're off of social media, because that sticks with us. It lingers with us in our everyday when we are, scrolling on whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or even YouTube, and then you come off of it. That feeling doesn't necessarily leave you. If you come across certain content, it can leave you in a certain way, whether it's a mood change, you're emotionally change, or certain other aspects of your character. You can be influenced by what you see on social media. So I love the fact that you pointed that out. And as you mentioned with James in our live chat mentioned that, he said my reel is only at 550 views. And he used the word only. I'm going to point that out, but also as Angela shared, 550 people fills a small theater. That's fantastic, and I completely agree. Sometimes it's a perspective that we put ourselves in because we sometimes compare our content and ourselves as content creators to others that might be, it seems like they're doing well. We see some of their numbers and they're getting hundreds and thousands of followers and views on their content, but sometimes we end up playing the comparison game, unfortunately, with our peers, not just collaborators, but with our peers, and it puts us in that situation. But I love the fact that what you shared. There's definitely a few things that I think you can identify, and I want to name just three of them. I kind of hinted already at the change in behavior. You could definitely notice it sometimes with somebody who all of a sudden they have started avoiding their responsibilities, or they even showcase very extreme mood swings, which is something that it might come out of nowhere. You never seen it coming, and something that just kind of like they were super positive one day, and next thing you know, even earlier that day or later that day, they're just completely negative. They're down and out, something like that. It can be the reverse. Something can inspire you in a positive way on social media. I don't want to kind of step over that, but usually we find ourselves in that comparison game, and we usually look at it in a negative way, and we put ourselves in more of a corner in a funk rather than uplifting, depending on the content that's out there. So changes in behavior is definitely one. Another one is social isolation, which is so weird because you feel like you might be connecting more with people online, but you are leaving those that are in the real world behind. You're avoiding events, you're avoiding face-to-face interaction with certain other individuals, and it can cause harm in your relationships with those that are actually around you. You're speaking to, maybe you have 1,000 followers on Instagram, that's great, but what happened to the 5, 10 people in your own household? You're avoiding them and you see them every day. So that's something to look out for. And I think one that I honestly think I suffer from, Megan, I always say that this is the worst thing about me in regards to my own health, not just mental, but just like physical. It's a lack of sleep, honestly. Sleep disturbances could affect you from social media use, whether it's you have a hard time falling asleep or you stay asleep longer. It could affect you in both ways on both ends of it. So this usually occurs with phone use, usually right before you go to bed. They try to tell you the whole blue screen aspect, and that could really disturb your sleep. I'm sure you've heard of those studies before, Megan.
Yes.
And even just the way that we're always on the screen in general, like we're hosting this live right now, and I have like two monitors in front of me. I'm always on the screen. That can affect me in a certain way as well. So Those are three things that I've noticed that you can identify that may be disturbing or hindering your mental health in regards to social media. I would love to know, out of those things that I've mentioned as well, is there anything that you kind of could relate to, or if you wanted to add something on top of what I just shared?
Well, I think I've experienced a little bit of all three, maybe not extreme of any of them, but um, when you mentioned struggling in like in person interactions, and to me, what I've found is maybe I don't struggle with actual communication or struggling with, feeling so anxious, which I actually have some friends. We were just talking about it this weekend, how she works from home and she is on social media often. She now struggles to like even go into the grocery store, to go into the gym, just because she's like, I'm around people, but I'm not around people. And that's really affecting her that way. So I haven't really experienced that, but I do experience overwhelm of communication, like staying up on communicating with my real life friends and family, because I'm always communicating in the DMs or, in my comments, that once I get a text from somebody, sometimes I'll just read it and like mentally, oh yeah, gotta respond, or I did respond, or it's not, priority to this second. So I'll get
Yeah.
back to it. And then I don't, because I feel like I've been responding to people all day.
Yeah, we that it goes back to that quote that I mentioned, and it used the word dopamine. If you want to really get into the sciences of it, and they use these things to trigger our dopamine mentally, so that when we get a notification, as you said with communication, there's usually either a vibration of our phone, there's a certain sound that we know. I mean, right now I'm surrounded by my iPad, my phone, my computer, and if a certain noise goes off, I know exactly what it is, whether it's my Slack or my email. And I think the majority of us watching this can can also agree with that, with certain sounds that they've crafted. You would be you wouldn't believe how much that they put into making money in regards to making certain notifications to make sure that you know what it is. And the likes, maybe get they're red for a reason because it catches our eye, and they place them in certain areas. These things are really to attract us, to get our attention, but it doesn't always lead to something positive, because now we feel like, okay, we just got a DM, I have to respond, or I have to at least read it at that very moment.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you feel guilty because you didn't respond yet, or you're forced to respond in a way when you didn't want to. These things add up, especially when we're on social media for hours a day, and it really does come off on a negative way in regards to who we start to interact with in the real world.
Mm. Yep, for sure. And like you said, it adds up. So it's for me when it comes to that overwhelm of responding, sometimes I think, okay, I won't respond yet because I feel a little overwhelmed, but it's like every single message I don't respond to, it's a big load at the end where I'm like, I really can't do it. So that even if you're not actively there, you're thinking about it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For those of you guys watching, that was just our first question. In regards to our main topic here today, identifying some of the dangers of social media in regards to your mental health. That is our conversation here today. Once again, I am joined by Megan, Social Media with Meg, as you see on the screen. In the live chat, we have Angela. She is our moderator, and I see that she is definitely having a conversation with everybody in there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on today's topic of this. We have a few things I definitely want to shout out, but before I get into that, once again, this is on YouTube, so please, the Social Roundtable, we would love it if you can please hit the like button so more people can find our content, as well as if you are not following us just yet, please hit that subscribe button and join our respective communities. And I say respective because it is actually two channels that we are streaming on right now, both mine and Megan. It's two separate channels, but you're getting one great actual piece of content from both of us on on a weekly basis, every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually we have a guest. Today we're going guestless, but please make sure you hit that subscribe button to follow us for more. We definitely would appreciate your support, and even spread the word out there. Share these videos that we have with your own very respective community, no matter the size. Okay, James, I know you mentioned you only have five on it. 500 is a lot. Five is a lot. So I could get overwhelmed with five people in a room. It really depends on my mood. All right, we're going to move over to our next question I have for us to discuss. And I want to lead off with a poll that I shared this weekend, Megan. Usually before we do these episodes on the Social Roundtable, whatever our topic is, I like to kind of take a question that's relative to that topic and share it with the audience to kind of get the idea of how they feel about something that we're going to be discussing. And this is a perfect topic to discuss about social media health. So I asked on Friday on YouTube on a community post, do you consider yourself mentally drained often from social media? I'm gonna, you know what, as I bring that up, I'm gonna go to you to answer that question. But before I do, before you answer, I want to read the answer to that. 70% of people said yes. They feel completely drained off of social media, and 30% responded no. I have to say, I am not surprised at that number, Megan. Um, I would definitely raise my hand and say I do feel a bit drained at times, especially with the need to kind of keep up creating content. Although there are things that I do practice, and we're going to talk about that, about avoiding that. But I want to know from you as well. I'm going to ask you the same question. And those that are watching, please go ahead and answer this question also. I do have it as the poll question in the live chat. But if you want to add more, put a message in the live chat. Or if you're catching the replay, go ahead and put it in the comments. So for you, Megan, I'm going to ask you quickly: do you consider yourself mentally drained often from social media?
Yeah, I do. And it's not even like so much comes in waves anymore. Like there's a little bit of ebb and flow, but overall, like I do feel it pretty consistently. Like it's not a huge amount. I've gone through phases, say like 2 years ago, where it was a lot of overwhelm. And then implementing different things we'll talk about here in a bit, but it's really helped me overall. Today I still feel it some, and it's, I think, a battle that we just have to continue to get better at, because we're constantly being bombarded with different social media platforms and types of content, ways of engaging. They're adding new communication all of the time, so we just got to get better at using the tools and setting our boundaries.
Setting our boundaries is easier said than done. That is for sure.
Yes.
But maybe we'll be able to share a few ideas in regards to how to do exactly that. So let me read out a few of these answers here. Well, Angela, I want to share something that Angela said. Community is everything, and authentic relationships. Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree. Um, and James said he is building a legit community. Yes, that's
Mm.
what I want to hear. More focus on community, because with community, I think they have that natural understanding of respect towards your own mental health and what you're able to put out. They don't kind of expect, just constant flow of content in a way. I think they're very respectful of that, the way that you build your relationship with them. Um,
Great
well,
point.
now answering that question, Megan, I want to jump to our last question before we go to any Q&A that we may have from the live chat. In regards to what you just shared, in regards to feeling drained, I can relate. What actions have or will you take when you notice you may be suffering from a social media influence mental health concern?
The first one, and probably the easiest one that maybe people would think of, is I just take time off, and give myself like cold turkey, whatever that is. If it's a day, if it's a weekend, can't say I've gone more than like 2 days. Probably could use that. I hear of people doing like a week long, and that's great. It's definitely difficult when you run your business on social
Yeah.
media and you have different goals for it, but I understand there's definitely a good place, time and place for that. So definitely taking a break. And then also when I'm going back into it, setting myself up with creating certain intentions. So I'm opening this app in order to respond, in order to post, in order to engage. So having a clear intention before I open the app sometimes won't lie. I still get distracted and don't actually complete that intention, but it's, taking note of that and giving yourself a little bit of understanding, grace, and doing better next time. Also, I sometimes will go in and, kind of see what's draining my energy. Is it the accounts I'm following? Is it the people I have been engaging with, the content I have been consuming, and cleaning that up? So you can go in and you can change your recommendations. You can change, obviously, you can unfollow people or mute people. Sometimes that's like a huge tool that I use. I will mute certain accounts that I feel like overwhelmed or I'm comparing myself to, or I don't really have FOMO often, but if I did, I guess I'd do it for them too. And I love that tool because then you can go back in when you feel in a healthier state to unmute them
Yeah.
and still search them, engage with them when they're muted, but not have it the first thing you see when you open up your phone. What about you, Heston?
First off, I completely agree with that first, the tool that you mentioned. I don't feel like a lot of people understand the power of mute. And I'm going to add in block. I'm going to definitely add in block as well. The power of mute and block could take you so far for peace of mind, because we didn't kind of talk about it too much, but there is that aspect of, with mental health comes on social media is the engagement that you get. Not all engagement that you get is positive. There is aspects of cyberbullying that you can, or even just harassment on social media that can play a factor in regards to your own mental health on all of these platforms, no matter which one. I usually say sometimes YouTube might seem like the nicest, or even Threads. Threads is pretty positive, but I've had my bouts every now and again with a couple comments that made its way into my content that wasn't so positive. So
Mhm.
mute and block are very powerful tools. They are free. You don't have to pay a thing for your own peace of mind. I generally, if it's somebody that's harassing, not even usually myself, but my community, or something that somebody else might
Mhm.
find very disrespectful in that form of manner, I would simply just block the person, especially if they did it more than once. But muting, that usually comes in mind when I am, for one, I'm getting content from somebody I follow that I'm not highly interested in at the moment. Sometimes maybe they're in a launch phase and it like going crazy with marketing and stuff like that. Like, I might grow a little tired of that, so I might take some time off and mute this person for a little while. I'm still following them because I respect them and I want to get content from them, but just maybe not at this point in time when I'm focused on other things, and maybe they're focused on other things that might be changing our relationship a bit. But that's definitely one tool that I love to utilize. You also mentioned taking a break from social media. I love to just say I'm going on a social media detox or a hiatus. Um, I've done longer than 2 days, sometimes not by choice. Whether it's my phone is not working or I'm on vacation. Even when I'm on vacation, I usually somewhat check in, but I'm not active on social media. So I would do that if I'm on vacation for like a good 5 days to a week. I definitely, and I plan it, whether I plan to schedule content to still go up or not. Most times I find myself not scheduling content. I'm just like, I'm gone and I don't tell anybody. So there's no expecting. I feel like sometimes we put this burning sensation on ourselves, like we have to tell our audience, oh, I'm taking 5 days off. Let's be real, Megan. Sometimes they just don't care. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you're taking 5 days off. Oh well. Who knows if they even miss you? Because I get those posts every now and again where somebody says, "Hey, I'm back," and I'm like, I didn't even know you were gone.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
So I think taking a social media break, whether you want to announce it or not, it's pretty up to you. But I think a social media break is definitely one way that I do it. And one that's even more difficult that I do struggle with is, and I mentioned the comparison game. Listen, we are
Mhm.
human. By human nature, we are going to see things online and usually quickly compare whether it's something that we want or something that we want to do. That's just human nature. Sometimes, no matter how many times you say, I'm not going to compare, it's going to happen. So I try to do it with intention of learning and being inspired. Like if I see like
Mhm.
Megan's post, she puts out a reel and it goes crazy. It's crazy viral. I'm not gonna look at it and say, oh, I wish I could have done that. That could have been me. I'm gonna look at it and say, what did she do that I could possibly adopt into
Mhm.
my own content strategy in my own persona? I'm not gonna we're not telling people to copy and duplicate exactly what they see, but learn from it, be inspired from it, because that reel that I see Megan posted that went viral, she's letting me know it is possible that I can do it as well. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't want to play the game of comparison. I wish I could have got those numbers. I got to work hard for those numbers, and I could possibly learn from watching. what Megan or anybody else has actually done. So that's how I kind of look at it in regards to things that I practice to kind of keep my own peace of mind if I do feel like it's coming on, or sometimes even be preemptive. Sometimes we wait for these things to occur, like, oh, I feel like I'm getting stressed. Maybe we should schedule it. I've seen people say they schedule one day a week, for peace of mind. I'm not at that point yet, but I would love to be.
Yeah, definitely. That is such a good point about comparing and, switching your mindset of seeing it as it's proof that it can be done. That's something I started to really adopt probably like a year ago because I did get in that spiral of, oh my gosh, well, what are they doing? And then I would try to learn from their posts, but at the end, sometimes it'd be like, no, really, how did that do so well? Because it's not that good of a piece of content. And I worked so hard on mine. And you'd get in that spiral. And not gonna lie, today I still will like open up my phone and be like, what, how, like, what are they doing? And that's my initial reaction. Like you said, we are human, but it's then having
Yeah,
that habit of reminding yourself, okay, wait, it's proof that it can be done. Let's study, success leaves clues. And you don't know what they're doing on the back end either. They might be in their DMs
exactly.
all day, every day, really, really working with that community. And there's just so many factors. So all you can do is learn from them, use them as inspiration, and continue to keep your eyes focused on your goals, your community, and your work.
Yes, well said. And I think that's a great way for us to kind of wrap up our conversation here today on this topic. I mean, excuse me. We're talking, for those that are just not kind of joining late, we are talking about warning of social media danger to mental health. And I think we share some really great ideas in regards to how to identify it, how to avoid it, and sometimes what it is. Because sometimes I do feel like there's a misunderstanding of when we talk about those two phrases, social media and mental health. And I think sometimes it can get misconstrued in regards to what it actually is. And yes, it can encompass quite a bit, but we also have to be kind of present enough to know when it might be affecting us or even others around us. We have to be able to identify some of these factors so that we can possibly help to be preemptive. And if it's already occurring, what are the next steps that we can actually put into practice that could actually put us in a better position? Because if we do not, you're just going to end up winding, digging yourself deeper and deeper into that hole of depression and anxiety and things of that matter that we shared earlier that you definitely don't want to get into. So I think
Yes.
we had a great conversation here today, Megan, all in regards to social media and mental health. We were talking more about from Instagram's point of view, but definitely a lot of the stuff we shared can relate to any social media platform that you utilize. So please,
Mm,
as always, take the steps, take the actions, take the knowledge that myself and Megan shared here with you guys today and step your gram up in the best way possible. We're going to move
yes.
over now to see if we have any questions. We are not going to play any games here today. It's just myself and Megan. We usually like to keep that with when we have a guest on the screen with us. So apologies about that, but I'm quite sure Megan is going to have a few difficult questions for myself and our next guest next week to answer.
Yes. Have
Let
them
me
all back
go
in
to
my
the
backlog.
I'm gonna go to the live chat right now. As I do that, just a little reminder, guys, if you can please, once again, hit the like button if you are getting any value, any insight from this conversation that myself and Megan are having all around social media and mental health. And if you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button, join our respective communities so you won't miss out on any of our future content, such as our weekly Monday live series, the Social Roundtable, which you are currently watching right now. So we thank you very much for that. Um,
Yes. While you're
James said,
looking,
can't wait until next Monday.
yeah, I know. Can't wait. It's gonna be a good one. While you're looking through that, I just want to touch on one more thing for mental health is, we kind of talked about it from the creator standpoint of comparing ourselves, with that dopamine hit and, trying to, can I get as many likes or views or whatever? But it also comes down to just comparing your life to other people's lives. So, maybe they show like the perfect house, but you don't see the corner that's, so dirty and they just threw all of the junk over there. Or maybe you see the person with the perfect skin, the
Yeah.
perfect body, the perfect relationship, whatever it might be. You have no idea what they're doing for filters. I just made a reel about that last week, talking about my struggle with filters and comparing. And then you don't know what they did to really create that perfect life and if it really
True.
is or not, because usually there's stuff in the back you just don't see, like that messy corner in all areas, relationships, work, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I see a question here actually from Angela. I don't know if she was questioning the audience or us, but I love the questions. She asks, "Who triggers your comparison button,
Oh,
and what type of
Heston.
content mess? What type of content messes with you?" Listen, Angela, we ain't gonna start no battles here. I'm not naming any names.
No, I mean, I
um,
could say maybe the type of content.
yeah.
Yeah, I think when I see other people like doing different partnerships that I would have liked to do, or when they are getting an extreme amount of engagement, not just like likes and views, but I go into their comments and it's like very in-depth
Hmm.
conversation, or post about really successful launches when maybe mine didn't do as well as I wanted, that type of stuff.
I could see that, especially as creators. We see we're constantly in that point of mind of business in a way. Even when we do step away from being on the phone on social media, like we're thinking if we come across a book or a movie or just a conversation, we're like, ooh, I could turn that into content. But then sometimes when we do come across what's probably already been created, we're like, oh, that person created what I was going to create or something of that matter. It doesn't mean that you can't still create what you were planning to. You could take the same idea. I'm not trying to say go steal, but once again, you could take the same idea and flip it in your own perspective because your
Mhm.
perspective will always be different than somebody else's based on your experience, your knowledge, even other factors in regards to who you are. So make
Yeah.
sure when you are creating content to add that you factor that makes it different and makes it identifiably yours. Um,
Yes. I can't tell you how many times I see somebody's post go out like in the morning and I have it ready for the afternoon. I'm like, it's the same topic. And we said like the same 3 points. So you're right. It's gonna happen.
I've had it a few times with a few people that I love to chat with, and it's like we are definitely on the same brain lengths today because we were definitely
Yes.
thinking the same topic. For myself, I'm gonna say once again, just for those that are watching, just the question is from the live chat: Who triggers your comparison button, and what type of content messes with you? Um, and when we say messes with you, in regards to your mental peace. Um, First off, I really do try to avoid political stuff. I've been trying to avoid it by any means. I've noticed even with I want to say 20, I think it was 2016 election when it really started ramping up in regards to politics on social media. I've noticed myself experiencing a lot of that mental health aspects where I would come off of social media and immediately be in a bad mood, and it wasn't
Mhm.
good for those that I was around. So and I'm talking about specifically Facebook. So I've actually stopped using Facebook
Yeah.
for a very long time. I use it to check in with family members, but I'm not as active on it as I used to be because just the things that I was seeing, it just put me to bad phone. And I try to keep that whatever is gonna change my emotions, my character in the real world once I leave it in a negative way, I try to leave that completely away. Once again, the power of the mute, the power of the block button. And sometimes it's just that the person that we follow, they may have changed. You may have been following them for one reason, and now, rightfully so, they hopefully evolved to whatever it may be. But it might not be something that you vibe with. It might be something completely different that you're no longer interested in. So hit the unfollow button. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. A lot of people put so much emphasis that if I follow somebody, I must follow them forever. I don't think so. Listen, that's not how real life works. I know friends from junior
Mhm.
high and elementary school. We do not talk now, nor do I want to talk to a few of them. Some of them is fine. I can reconnect, but you don't necessarily need to get in contact with them. The same thing applies to social media. You're not obligated to follow anybody. It's your social media account. You follow who you want. So make sure you don't put that pressure on yourself as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know why we're all so scared to hit the unfollow button. Like again, it goes back to, do you really think they're going to check in on you every day? Like, did they unfollow me? Did they unfollow? Probably not. They probably won't notice for a while. So, if they do.
uh, a couple of messages from the live chat. James, no one is perfect. It's part of the story. Absolutely right. It is part of your story, and it's something that you can share with others. And most likely, you find other people that can actually relate to what you're going through as well. That's one of the great things about social media. I think a lot of people forget. Before social media, yes, I remember. I'm that old. I remember what life was like before social media. But um, there is always a way or a group or another individual online that can connect with you over a shared interest. No matter how niche, how small that interest is, you can find somebody that is interested in that same thing as you. But don't forget, it doesn't always apply to just social media. You can find somebody that does that as well offline. So don't always depend on social media. It was just one of the things that we said you shouldn't do. You can live your life. What was the phrase? Go outside and touch grass.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with doing that every now and again to meet people, go to different events, and just experience life. Well, I don't see any questions in the live chat, so I think we're pretty good with a Q and A, Megan. This was a very good conversation today. Not, as you said earlier, not the type of topic that a lot of people talk about. For whatever reason, some people seem to stray away from the topic, like as if it's a little bit taboo. But I think it's one of those topics that needs to be spoken about more. 'Cause I feel like a lot of people actually experience this, one, without knowing, or two, without any help because they're too, I don't want to say ashamed, but they're too shy or not comfortable speaking about it because it's not spoken about as often. So I think we should open up this type of conversations more to the public, to those around us, and even ourselves. We have to acknowledge some of these things that we are going through um, unknowingly. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Any
Yeah.
last words that you would like to share in regards to this topic?
I just think that for everyone watching, if you have or are currently or in the future you struggle with different aspects of your mental health when it comes to social media, just feel like go out there, find a space where you can talk about it because you're definitely not alone. Make sure you're following the accounts that inspire you, lift you up, make you feel good, using those mute and block and unfollow options if necessary, and just really taking the time to detach when you can, taking the time to remember that at the end of the day, it's that human connection in person that is so important for so many different ways. It can fix so many things. Go out there, get sunshine, and be with your loved ones.
Yes, go out there and get that sunshine. All right, so we're pretty much going to end our live here. If you had any parting words, Megan, in regards to where the people can find you, anything that you're up to that the people should know about, please go ahead and share.
Yeah, you guys know you can find me on Instagram, here, YouTube, Threads, all the things. And just if you are struggling, come hit me up in the DMs and we can talk about it because I'm always here for you too.
Awesome. Also, once again, we are being moderated in the live chat by Angela. If you want to join our communities on Instagram and YouTube, you can find the links to all three of us, myself, Megan, and Angela, in the description. So go ahead and find those links and follow us in our respective communities on whichever platform you desire. YouTube or Instagram. Shout out to you, Angela. Thank you so much for moderating. It looked like it was a really great conversation. I'm hoping to go through it as we end this live. For those of you guys watching, I am Heston of Social Varsity. Special DM. I specialize in DM automation with ManyChat, and right now I'm so glad I can finally say I opened up my IG subscription community. I'm all about trying to build community. I've opened it up my community to teach more people about the power, the full potential of ManyChat, and more. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out my Instagram page and tap the subscribe button to learn more. You actually get a 14-day free trial, and right now it's at a low cost. I'm not going to say the price, but it's a low cost. I don't want to age this video. It's a very low cost. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out that offer. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We already have a guest and a great topic. We will tease, and I shouldn't say tease, we will announce it on our broadcast channel. So look out for that as well. The link is also in the description for that. All right, now, guys, you guys take care. Have a great one. We'll see you at the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Monday on the Social Roundtable. Later, guys.
Bye.